Welcome to ZoomInData, your go-to channel for in-depth data engineering, analytics, and modern cloud technology interview preparation. In this video, we dive deep into the top 25 sensitivity labels and data protection in Microsoft Fabric interview questions for 2025, updated as of early 2026. Perfect for data governance specialists, security architects, compliance officers, and anyone preparing for Fabric administration, purview, or enterprise data protection roles. We cover sensitivity labels from Microsoft Purview information protection, application to Fabric items, integration with OneLake, Power BI, enforcement mechanisms, DLP policies, encryption, auditing, regulatory compliance, secure sharing, real-time workloads, automation, and best practices, all explained in clear, interview-ready technical language to help you confidently ace your next interview. 1. What are sensitivity labels in Microsoft Fabric? Sensitivity labels are Microsoft Purview information protection capabilities that classify and protect Fabric items based on data sensitivity levels such as public, internal, confidential, or highly confidential. Labels apply persistent metadata to workspaces, lakehouses, warehouses, semantic models, reports, pipelines, and notebooks, enforcing protection across the lifecycle. They combine classification with configurable actions like encryption, access restrictions, visual markings, and export controls. Labels propagate to downstream content, e.g., Power BI exports, shared reports, ensuring protection beyond Fabric boundaries. 2. How are sensitivity labels applied to data in Fabric? Labels are applied manually by item owners or automatically via Purview auto-labeling policies during item creation or modification. Default labeling policies enforce minimum sensitivity on new workspaces and items based on tenant or workspace settings. Inheritance from parent workspace or domain ensures consistent labeling for newly created child items. Purview Hub in Fabric Admin Portal monitors labeling coverage and gaps across the tenant. 3. How do sensitivity labels integrate with Purview? Labels are defined and managed centrally in the Microsoft Purview Compliance Portal with granular protection settings. Purview scanning and auto-classification detects sensitive data types, triggering recommended or mandatory label application. Unified Catalog and Data Map display Fabric item labels alongside lineage and classifications. Policy enforcement, auditing, and reporting occur through Purview while applying to Fabric workloads. 4. How do sensitivity labels enforce data protection? Labels trigger encryption with Microsoft managed or customer managed keys for labeled items and exports. Access restrictions prevent unauthorized viewing, editing, or sharing based on label configuration. Visual markings, headers, footers, watermarks, and content restrictions, no copy, print, apply to Power BI reports and exports. Export controls block or audit downloads of labeled content to unmanaged devices. 5. How does Fabric support data classification? Purview built-in and custom classifiers automatically detect PII, FI, financial, and custom patterns during scans of Lakehouse tables and semantic models. Classification results displayed in OneLake catalog and Purview Hub for stewardship and remediation. Auto-labeling policies promote detected classifications to sensitivity labels consistently. Manual override and justification workflows ensure accurate classification governance. 6. How does Fabric manage protected content? Labeled items inherit protection settings, restricting actions like sharing, export, or embedding based on policy. Power BI reports with labeled models apply markings and restrictions to visuals and exports, PDF, PPT. Protected content remains encrypted at rest in OneLake and during transit. Audit logs capture all interactions with labeled items for compliance tracking. 7. How does Fabric prevent unauthorized data access? RBAC combined with label-based access policies ensures only authorized users view labeled content. Conditional access and session controls block access from unmanaged devices or locations. Row, column-level security filters sensitive data dynamically in queries and reports. Private endpoints and VNet integration isolate network access to protected workloads. 8. How does Fabric implement data loss prevention? Purview DLP policies scan power by semantic model uploads, blocking or auditing sensitive data detection. Policy tips warn users during item creation or sharing of potential violations. Integration with endpoint DLP prevents exfiltration via copy, paste, or screenshots. Activity alerts notify admins of policy breaches for rapid response. 9. How does Fabric manage encrypted data? All data at rest in OneLake encrypted with Microsoft Managed Keys, Customer Managed Keys, CMK, via Azure Key Vault supported. Labeled items enforce additional encryption layers with key rotation and revocation controls. Transparent data encryption applies to warehouse and mirrored databases. TLS 1.2 Plus enforces encryption in transit across all Fabric endpoints. 10. How does Fabric integrate data protection with Power BI? Sensitivity labels apply to semantic models and reports, persisting on exports and embedded content. DLP policies protect model uploads. Labels enforce markings and restrictions in visuals. Direct Lake queries inherit OneLake label protections without breaking performance. Audit logs capture Power BI interactions with protected data for unified tracking. 11. How does Fabric support regulatory compliance? Certifications include GDPR, HIPAA, ISO 27001, SOC, and FedRAMP High covering Fabric and Purview protection features. Purview Compliance Manager maps controls and generates regulatory reports. Data residency and sovereignty options with regional capacities and CMK. Immutable audit trails and label enforcement prove compliant handling. 12. How does Fabric manage secure data sharing? External sharing restricted by tenant settings and label policies, e.g., block confidential sharing. Shared links and app distribution require authentication and inherit label restrictions. Cross-tenant B2B collaboration governed by explicit invitations and label compatibility. Audit logs track all sharing actions for compliance review. 13. How does Fabric protect sensitive analytics data? Labels on Lakehouse, warehouse tables propagate to downstream semantic models and reports. Column-level security masks sensitive fields in queries and visuals. Auto-classification scans detect and label sensitive patterns continuously. Export controls prevent sensitive data download to unmanaged endpoints. 14. How does Fabric manage data access auditing? Unified audit logs capture view, edit, share actions on labeled items with full context. Purview Activity Explorer visualizes access patterns and policy violations. Logs exportable to scene tools for long-term retention and correlation. Admin alerts notify on suspicious access to highly sensitive content. 15. How does Fabric handle privacy regulations? GDPR-compliant features include data subject requests, right to be forgotten via retention policies. Purview Privacy Management assesses risk and recommends remediation. Classification and labeling support privacy impact assessments. Cross-border data flow controls via regional capacities and labels. 16. How does Fabric support information protection policies? Purview policies define label actions, encryption, markings, restrictions, applied consistently across Fabric. Mandatory labeling enforces minimum protection on new items. Justification required for downgrading labels ensures policy adherence. Policy tips guide users during sensitive operations. 17. How does Fabric manage cross-tenant data protection? Tenant isolation prevents cross-tenant data access by default. B2B collaboration requires explicit invitations with label and permission checks. Shared content inherits source tenant label protections. Audit logs segregated by tenant for independent compliance. 18. How does Fabric enforce label inheritance? New items inherit workspace or domain label unless overridden with justification. Child items, e.g., reports from models, automatically inherit parent label. Policy settings control mandatory inheritance behavior. Purview Hub reports inheritance gaps for remediation. 19. How does Fabric integrate protection across workloads? Labels apply uniformly to Lakehouse, warehouse, Power BI, pipelines, and real-time intelligence items. OneLake central storage ensures single protection boundary for data. Direct Lake and SQL endpoints inherit underlying label protections. Cross-workload lineage traces protected data flows. 20. How does Fabric handle protected data in real-time analytics? Labels on EventHouse databases restrict access to streaming data. Row, column security filters sensitive events in KQL queries. Ingestion pipelines inherit source label protections. Real-time dashboards apply label markings and export restrictions. 21. How does Fabric manage data protection automation? Auto-labeling policies apply classifications based on content scanning. DLP rules automatically block or audit sensitive operations. Deployment pipelines validate label compliance before promotion. Data activator triggers protection actions on detected patterns. 22. How does Fabric ensure secure collaboration? Workspace roles and item permissions control internal collaboration. External sharing governed by label policies and tenant restrictions. Co-authoring inherits label protections for simultaneous editing. Comments and mentions tracked in audit logs. 23. How does Fabric manage data retention policies? Item-level retention aligns with label-based compliance requirements. Purview retention policies automate deletion or archival. Time travel in Delta preserves historical versions within policy windows. Audit integration tracks retention actions. 24. How does Fabric support risk mitigation? Purview DSPM identifies overshared or mislabeled sensitive items. Insider risk correlates access patterns with potential threats. Risk scores prioritize remediation across Fabric estate. Continuous scanning detects emerging protection gaps. 25. What are best practices for data protection in Fabric? Define and mandate sensitivity labels with encryption markings. Enable auto-labeling for coverage. Use Purview Hub to monitor gaps. Integrate DLP with strict upload policies for Power BI. Apply least privilege RBAC and RLS. Use private endpoints for network isolation. Regularly audit logs, test policy enforcement, and align labels with regulatory needs via Purview. Thank you for watching. If this video helps you prepare for your Microsoft Fabric interview, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your network. Don't forget to subscribe to ZoomInData and hit the bell icon for more in-depth data engineering, analytics, and cloud technology interview prep videos every week. Drop your questions or topic requests in the comments. Let's zoom in on your success together.